My name is Zareef Minty. I just turned 30 years old right now. And, I've been in the space of youth development and youth, the growth of our young people in Africa. I've made the Forbes Africa 30 under 30 list in 2018. I've, made the Mail and Guardian top 200 list. I have two books out. I'm an author. One book's a bestseller. The other one's about to come out right now. And, the second book is completely different to the first book. The first one's about business tips. The second one's about relationships. I've been on a one-day leader show in South Africa. It's on SABC, it's our national broadcaster. It had about 6 million people watching in at any moment, and I ended up winning the show. It was a leadership show. You speak about all the issues South Africa has, and every single episode we debate in studio as to finding solutions for it with other leaders. And it was such a great opportunity as well. I'm a lawyer by profession. I'm currently busy working in the PR and marketing space as well. I'm a TV host on a DSTV channel, and I just have a lot of goals and plans for the next 10 years. So hopefully I do achieve a lot of that as well.
Diversified Game. Learn how to start, run, and sustain your business.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, you guys are in for a real treat. That's why I am wearing the House of Tao from Rwanda, Rwanda's premier, high-end designer, as well as my hat that I got in Durban recently. But you guys, today's show is all about Zareef Minty, zareefminty.com. Links will be in the description. Everything you just heard is true from a lawyer, from being an author. I call them sometimes politricians, but he hasn't hit his full pinnacle, which lets me know he's probably a good guy, because politricians, it's hard to be a good guy in politics, no matter where you are, because it's such a interesting, sometimes a cruel and dirty game. But Sir Zareef, welcome to Diversified Game. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, Kellen. I think it's such an honor and a privilege to be on your podcast. And I've been seeing the work that you do. You do some incredible, inspiring stuff. So I'm very blessed and grateful to be on your podcast.
Well, I thank you for coming on. I was so thankful for you allowing me to come on the show. I thank Nia Tabby, Neo, for More Global Love, for connecting us, and what she did for us, our team in South Africa. I mean, she is like family. She can't go anywhere. But I want to get into, you talk about positivity, and this is what I still love about outside of America, the fact that you can focus on positivity, where in America, Cat Williams' interview might have been the most positive thing that anyone's seen this year, and it wasn't necessarily positive, right? What are you seeing with the media in South Africa, and with the opportunities that you've gotten? How has that come about? When did this start? I know you started around 16 with your first business venture, but with the media, when did it start? What is your why?
Yeah, I think for me, it's a very important thing that I've always believed my main goal in life is that I was going to inspire and motivate, over 100 million people. And, obviously meeting 100 million people in person is very, very difficult. So, obviously using technology and using different platforms, I really do believe it's something that I can achieve. And it's something I've really, spent a lot of my time working on over the years. Looking at the media space, I mean, I started up, like you did mention, my first business at 16. I was still in a high school, and I just saw a gap in the market and took the gap and started my first business. I got so much of support. So people love the concept of risk takers in South Africa. If we need to understand the kind of dynamics in South Africa, it's definitely that people love risk takers, but majority of people have this fear of failure. So there's quite a thick line between people who jump over that line to be able to take risks and everyone who's too nervous to do it. And if you look at the people behind the line, they're so incredible, so talented, but it's a mindset shift, right? And something that definitely needs to happen in Africa and in South Africa is that we have to start building more confidence in our people. If you're looking at the media space, if we are talking about it in a general sense, I think this year has been a great year for the media. We've obviously seen a change in government in terms of how, in political standpoints, we've seen the African National Congress, losing quite their majority in South Africa, which meant that there needs to be this government of national unity where all the political parties came together. And now people are very excited for it. We're seeing your mainstream media running with it completely. So they're very pro the GNU, and we're seeing a lot of that happening. But in terms of media in general, South Africans love the young people, they love youth, they love innovation, they love case studies. They love people that can be an ambassador for the country. You have people like, there's a guy in South Africa, he owns a thing called Batu Shoes, and I speak about him a lot because he's such an incredible guy. Started off, went to corporate, came back, went into entrepreneurship. Today he's running, I think, something like between 50 and 100 stores in South Africa. And he's a young guy. And, South Africans love associating things that are game changers and impact makers. So it's beautiful to see what's happening in the country. But there's still a lot of things that still needs to happen in the beautiful South Africa.
When you said Batu Shoes, I almost went and grabbed my pair that I have. They're my house slippers, whatnot. I know it well. And no disrespect to Drip out there. I got some Drips out there. They're just that you guys don't have house shoes. So with all, with all of that, where does this come from? Because you're born in South Africa. I believe you have Indian heritage and I believe Muslim. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's something I always tell people. This is why we need diversity, because certain cultures, certain religions aren't looking for jobs. They're there to create jobs. And certain tribes in different places, South Africa has so many, Africa has so many, certain tribes are just great at business. So you need those people. And some people are great at other things. Where does it stem from? Did it come from home? At what age? Because many people did not get what you might have got, what I might have got. And it just sparked, like, of course, business. What else would you do? My grandmother owned businesses. Why would I not do business? So please give us, where does it start?
I think it comes a lot to do with exposure. Hey, exposure plays such an important role. And if you're looking at South Africans and our young people, again, emphasizing the concept of exposure, there's such a huge gap between the 95% and the 5% and then even the 1%. So the 1% is exposed to so much more. And I feel like that's the gap or the bridge that we want to actually fix in South Africa and build a better connectivity between the 95%, the 5%, and the 1%. So for me, my parents actually were not business people. They were very much into the corporate space. My dad's an attorney. My mom's a housewife. Like they had the traditional mindset. I grew up in a very small town. My town was incredibly small. And at some point, I was actually planning on becoming the mayor of my town. So it was that small, But the thing is that the mindset is different in a small town compared to a city. So if you're looking at Johannesburg, for example, if you're in New York, if you're in London, people have an ambitious mindset. They believe anything is possible. And, it's a mindset shift. If you come from a small town, a lot of them believe in the system. And I speak about the system, religiously, because it's an issue that we have. It's that, people that are born, they go through schooling systems, some of them go to university, some of them get a job, they get married and they have kids and then they pass on. That's the system. No one's innovating the system. No one's changing the system. People are just falling within the system. So, I've never believed in that since I was a young kid. When I was 16, I was thinking, cool, I'm creating this business, but also I like Robert Kiyosaki a lot, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I always felt that I wanted to have my book in Exclusive Books, which is our biggest bookstore in South Africa. I wanted to have my book right next to, Robert Kiyosaki's book. So my goals were different to, kids that were 16 and 17 from my town. They were very, very different. And I think that's the thing I want to create is case studies. I want people to understand that there's nothing special about me. At the end of the day, what's really special is a mindset shift. So if we can get more people to have the right mindset shifts, we'll have more case studies in South Africa. Being ambitious and having ambition is a great thing. But I feel like if you look at our South African youth and looking at Africa in general, if you're looking at Africa, Kellen, you look at countries like Rwanda, countries like Kenya, the economies are growing so fast, even faster than South Africa, right? We have incredible entrepreneurs, but the issue with South Africa, and a lot of our young entrepreneurs speak about it in South Africa, is venture capital. There's not a lot of venture capital companies out here. People are not funding. Angel investors are looking for finished products that are already earning, exponential amounts of money and having revenue already. No one's investing the way that they do, for example, in the US or even in other countries like, in the Netherlands, for example. In the Netherlands, they would take a young entrepreneur based on their mindset, based on their potential, and literally carry them through the process until they have a finished product and give them the mentorship, give them the advisory that they need. South Africa is very different. Here you're on your own until you have something that's already generating income. So that definitely needs to change. And that's why I'm so happy we have a global audience and a global opportunity for people to look for funding outside of South Africa. But, just touching back on this concept, I think it's so important that we get rid of the fear of failure in South Africa. The fear of failure is crippling a lot of young people. And it comes from case studies. If we have more case studies, I strongly believe, we'll see a huge, huge difference in the country. I mean, I've been in leadership my whole life. I've been in, student leadership. I've been in political leadership. I mean, I was the youngest political youth president in South Africa. So I ran in the elections. I was fifth on the parliamentary candidate list. I went all around South Africa at the age of, I think I was 17 or 18, literally went around the whole of South Africa, campaigned for my political party. It's nice to understand that we have incredible young people in South Africa, absolutely incredible. You put them with anyone around the world and they can compete. But the only thing that they have nothing of and they're lacking completely is the confidence in themselves. And if we can change the mindset, we can change the world. And I really do believe that.
I love it. And I agree with you. And I also, taking from the scriptures, a prophet is sometimes or never respected at home. So sometimes you have to get outside of home. And, the guy who's going to edit this, Muna, was a 17-year-old kid a few months ago when he emailed me saying, hey, I'm looking for some work. He wasn't asking for a handout. And, I said, hold on, I'm actually looking for some helpers. And now he's 18 and I feel good now because I didn't want to 17, you don't want to take advantage of anyone. So I told him, you got to talk to your parents and all this stuff. But he's very mature for his age. But, here in America, your social media manager might want to be the star. So sometimes there's a clash and, that could be a global thing. What have you done to be able to kind of not just motivate yourself, but strategize yourself? Because you're a lawyer, so you think different and you think to win. And what have you done also to humble yourself? Because you've done a lot. You've had a clothing line, right? And you guys, I think it was self-made billionaires. You have to have an arrogance, but you also have to say, let me calm myself down because you can conquer the world. Heck, this young man can even marry Miss Thailand if he wants. Now, if he wants to expose how that can happen, he can, but not to put his all business out. But you're global. You're South Africa to Asia if you want.
Yeah, look, I think it's a crazy time for the world right now, and even for myself. I think I'm looking at the concept of speaking about being humble, and it's something I strongly believe in. So I'm on the show every single day. I'm doing this live show. It's on DSTV. It has a niche market, but it's such a beautiful show because you end up meeting so many incredible people. The one thing I've learned in life is that you can learn something from any single person in the world, right? So you should never, whether the person is a domestic worker, whether they're cleaning floors right now, whatever they're doing, you should never ever think you're above anyone or below anyone. You are on equal level with everyone and everyone can teach you something. And I think that's one of the best lessons I've ever learned in my life. Another thing is I have great mentors when I was younger. I went out of my way from the age of 14 to find mentors for myself. I literally looked at people I would like to be like in 20 years or 30 years, and I went and I approached them, and I asked them to mentor me. And I have the most incredible mentors. Some of them are, billionaires in South Africa. But, saying the word billionaire doesn't even give them justice. I shouldn't speak about the fact of their wealth because they don't even care about it themselves. The one thing I've learned about the wealthiest and the most powerful people in the world, and this is from people like my mentors, they don't measure their success based on how many, Lamborghinis they have, how many mansions they have, how many beautiful Rolex watches they have. They don't care about those things. They measure their success based on the influence that they have on people and how many houses they can build, how many people they can feed, and it changes your whole understanding of life. Like we were brought up in the social media world to believe that everything is about being flashy and being wild and doing these amazing things and people are going to love you more, right? Because we know it's the truth. If you go onto Instagram I post up, something that says I have a new degree. I just got it. I got my master's done in law. Brilliant. I went to Harvard. I got my master's done. I'll get like 50 likes or 500 likes. If I put up something showing my new Urus, Lamborghini Urus, and I'm driving in there with this beautiful girl, I'm going to get like 50,000 or 500,000 likes, and people are going to think I'm the most incredible person in the world. It's just priorities and the way that society has deemed things these days. So I understand the value of being humble. I think it's something I pride myself on. I don't like arrogant people. Like I like every single person in the world, but the one type of people I dislike is arrogant people. I do believe that you should have confidence in yourself as an entrepreneur. You should believe in yourself, have confidence in yourself, but never ever think you're above anyone else. And that's something I've really, really, spent a lot of time. When I was younger, I was the most arrogant person ever. When I was 14 and 15 years old, I was horrible. I wouldn't even want to speak to the person I was back then. But God humbles you. You learn through situations or whatever it might be. And eventually you understand that this is the best pathway for you. So I'm very grateful to go through that journey that I went through. But also, talking about religion, I don't think I answered it in your last question, was you, there's so much of beauty in all of our religions, right? And I've always been that type of person. I mean, I grew up in a very traditional Muslim family. So obviously Muslim traditions, everything is very strict. I mean, I fast for about a month in a year, where you dry fast, so you're not eating or drinking anything for 12 hours every single day. It's a beautiful month of Ramadan, and it's such a beautiful time. But I also went to a Catholic school. I spent my high school at a Catholic school. I would sit in mass and I would sit in a church, and I loved it. I learned so much from other religions that made me understand the value of my own religion, but also understood that they're so similar at the same time, and we need to love each other as people. So, there's a concept called tithing, for example, in Christianity, very similar to zakat in Islam and being a Muslim. And they both teach you that at the end of the day, there's more blessings that come to you when you are a giving person, and a certain percentage of money is God's money. But that just actually means go out and do charity, go out and do something good for the world, because it comes back tenfold, And lessons like that can be taught universally. It doesn't have to be from a certain religion. You can learn that whether you are a Buddhist, whether you are Hindu, whether you are Muslim, whether you are Christian, a Jew. I think it's so important. Another thing that I think we all have to learn in terms of people in the world, and the Jewish people have literally done this in the best way possible, is that they understand the concept of growing a community. So in South Africa, you're looking at the corporate space, you look at Discovery, you look at a lot of your massive, massive businesses, Momentum. They're all Jewish owned and Jewish run, but they make sure that they protect and elevate and promote people within their community. So if there's a young Jewish guy that's at WITS or UJ, for example, which are universities in South Africa, he's about to graduate, they already open up doors for them, perhaps not because of capabilities or abilities. They obviously have to meet the basic quota that's required of them in terms of intelligence or education, but they make sure that they open up doors for them because they understand that concept that money has to kind of rotate around at least 7 to 10 times within the circle before it gets removed out. And it's something I want to emphasize, so that our African community, our Indian community, our colored community in South Africa can all learn the same model, because it's available to everyone, and it doesn't segregate or divide people. It just builds and elevates. So I think it's something that we definitely need to push out more in South Africa. But in terms of what I've just mentioned so far, it's been such a great journey, and I think I'm looking forward to what 30 to 40 is going to bring for me. I mean, I just turned 30 now. I'm so excited. There's so much of blessings that come with growth and maturity. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I love it. And I love that, if I butcher it, forgive my American tongue, but during Sagat, during Ramadan is when I know some people want to be around Muslims all the time. They want to be there for Eid. They want to be there, they want to be there when you are going to be sometimes your most giving and the closest sometimes to God during those fasting times. It's funny how people plot and plan. How do you protect yourself around, South Africa, when South Africa is kind of like America? It's not the most peaceful place, depending on where you are. a lot of things can happen. People say, Kellen, be careful walking down the street. I said, I was walking down these Soweto streets 20 years ago. Let me tell you what they don't want. The homeless looking American, because I don't look like much when I'm walking on the street, you know, and they don't, most bullies and criminals, they don't want to fight with someone who's going to fight back. They're looking for soft targets. But just business-wise and even personally, how do you protect yourself to not be around the users? Because as soon as you succeed in something, they come around, they want to attach themselves. And the cold part is they're not just strangers sometimes. There's family, there's friends that haven't been around forever, but they've known you forever, you know.
It's very, very true. And, I've actually learned that from my mentors. They told me this when I was very young. They said, please be careful on who you associate with. Please be careful on people's intentions. You never know, especially when you're going through this journey, you never know what people's real intentions are. And it's not only in personal life well, actually in a relationship sense, in a business sense, in many different ways. You never know. And unfortunately, the one thing I have to say, and hopefully other people actually are better at this than I am, is that you have to go through these things yourself to be able to learn how to have a filter, to be able to filter these people through, right? So when I was younger, went through horrible business partners, cheated me out of a lot of money, millions and millions from a very young age. I've been in relationships where perhaps the person's ethics and morals were not aligned to mine. And you only learn to be able to look for certain things in people or what's really valuable and what you should really prioritize in a person once you understand what you don't want, right? And I think that's such an important thing. Also, the whole concept of a personal capacity. I mean, sometimes family members can be your biggest issue. Look at someone like Paul Pogba, for example. He's a French footballer. His career got shortened because of issues with his family, and stuff like that. So you have to be cautious about all these different aspects, but at the end of the day, you have to go through these things, unfortunately, in most cases, for you to be able to build a filter to know what's actually good for you and what's not. I mean, today, like I'm 30 now, I think I probably have one of the best filters out there. I can analyze someone's, intention quite quickly. That's because I've been through so many times where I didn't know, and I completely was blindsided. So I think it's important that people go through it themselves. But if you get those intelligent, incredible individuals that can learn from other people's mistakes, I think that's probably the best solution where you don't have to kind of go through it yourself,
I agree. And, with as men, a lot of times of men's downfall, just look at history of so many men, it was a woman and picking the wrong woman and being around the wrong women. And that depends on how you do life because, polygamy is a real thing. My wife, her grandfather had over 50 wives and they stopped counting after that. And it was a different time and he was a chief. But that comes with its own headaches that are still issues to this day when you look into the family dynamic. So people who think, oh, in America, I want polygamy. You want polygamy and you don't even have one woman you've managed. It's like our people say that in business. I want to be a serial entrepreneur. So they start claiming it. But to be a serial entrepreneur means you hire very well and you know who you are because one business could drive you mad. And I think I was telling you, I've seen people become suicidal off making too much money, like having to talk them off of a ledge. Like, what are we doing here on the phone? What do you mean? You've made how much a month and why? So very important, very important. And men, do not date below. Try to date above because picture yourself being sick one day. You need somebody besides, a pretty idiot. You need a smart woman, an intelligent woman who can run what you're running and understands. How have you navigated, 30, still young, don't rush to get married. I was about 30 when I got married. But how have you navigated that aspect of life? Because, you've had relationships that have made news. People now can Instagram and TikTok take a picture and they can go viral off of your picture of you enjoying your dinner. Like, how's that life been for you?
Yeah, look, I think there's pros and cons to this whole relationship thing. Hey, there really is, Kellen. And I think for me, the one thing I've learned is that there's a difference between a social media relationship and one where you're going out there to impress people, and a relationship that has really good values, And I mean, I've dated every type of person out there. I've dated your supermodels of the world. I've dated actresses. I've dated, like really intelligent girls. I've dated different types of women. The most beautiful women. I mean, I've dated a Miss South Africa, like, very recently as well. Like, I've dated some really incredible women, and some of these women, they can be incredible in their own right, but you have to find someone that aligns perfectly with you. So, for example, I have certain attributes or certain characteristics that I would like my wife to perhaps, have complementary, or future wife would want it to have complementary kind of attributes. You start thinking of like, okay, cool. If you're gonna get married, you're going to have kids with this woman, she has to have a certain alignment to having kids. She's to understand, I want to know what type of mother she's going to be, and you start having different questions. It goes beyond looks. It goes beyond aesthetic. It goes beyond social media. It goes beyond all these things. So I think it's important, for a lot of guys out there, and especially with the second book that's coming out. My second book is called The Secret to Finding Love. I've done it with a love coach from South Africa. She's an incredible woman. She has a beautiful family, 2 children, a husband that loves her completely. They live an incredible life. They have many businesses. And what I've learned from her, and I've learned from the book and the experiences and the case studies and the market research and everything that we've done, is that it's so difficult in today's time where divorce is so common, right? We give up so easily on people, but the problem that most people have is that they don't communicate, or they don't necessarily know exactly what they want themselves. So they go into these relationships still trying to navigate as to what they want, and I think that's one of the biggest issues. So for me, I went through a journey myself where I kind of figured out what I really want. If I'm going to get a wife, what's my wife most likely going to look like, in terms of her morals, her values, what does she stand for? How will she raise my kids? I think all of those things play such an important role because, like you did mention, 30 years down the line, she can be the most beautiful girl in the world, but beauty fades, but your heart stays and your soul stays and your character stays. So that's very, very important for me, yeah, without a doubt.
Yes, and again, no matter what scripture you guys read, you guys know I'm in the Ethiopian Bible. The beauty fades, and all the older people will tell you. And I don't want to be personally one of those old men with a young woman like it was my daughter. I don't know what we would talk about, nor would I trust the person. You're here for what, but with the success, I mean, you've had, the Empire book, which you guys can get on Amazon. There's a Kindle version. I'm going to try to see if we can get the physical book too, and give some game on the getting on Instagram, not Instagram, InstaSpark, Ingram Spark, excuse me, you guys. That's where the libraries buy your books, Zareef. They buy your book from Ingram Spark globally, but they don't buy them from Amazon at this moment. And so I have a publishing company, so I like to be able to share that game with the audience every chance I get, because libraries buy millions of dollars of books, and it just opens up, the gates. But with all the success you've had, what's a community give back that you've done, or one that you would like to do in the future?
Yes, so I'm very big on all of that. I'm going to come on to that. I just want to talk about Empire for a second, and it's such a beautiful case study. So I was 19 at the stage, wrote this book, wanted to be next to Robert Kiyosaki. You own a publishing house, you understand how difficult it is, specifically in South Africa, because the mindset is different. I'm sure in the US it's very, very different. In South Africa, the mindset is completely different. So I have this book. I go to all these publishing houses. I think there's about 11 or 12 of them that are like your main ones in South Africa. And I got rejected by all 12. All 12 of them said, not interested. I mean, the one literally came back with a horrible critic. Like, you're so young. What do you know about self-development? Like, what do you know about networking? Have you ever networked in your life? Like, it was very critical, for a professional company. But nevertheless, I took it in a way that I feel was very positive. So I sat down and I said, okay, cool. Let's listen to what they say. Does it make sense? And I went back and it affected me at that point. I really did. It affected my confidence a lot because I believe that this book was great, but, I didn't get the response that I wanted. So I went back, I worked on the book, even though I felt I shouldn't actually have worked on the book, made some changes here and there. And I met this incredible gentleman in South Africa. He's a very good friend of mine. I actually look at him like a bigger brother in that sense. His name is Sibusiso Leope, DJ Spoo. He owns a brand called MoFire in South Africa. He is the most incredible person when we're talking about creating ideas and visions for entrepreneurs in South Africa. He made people believe that you can open up your own energy drink and you can make it successful. You don't have to have a monopoly like all these big brands out here. And he did it himself. He's the perfect case study. Anyway, he told me about self-publishing, right? I didn't know about it at that stage, heard about self-publishing. I self-published my book, got it into the biggest bookstores. And within the first month, one of the government organizations got into contact with me and said, look, we love this book. Like, we actually need 5,000 copies for a whole drive. And the funny thing is, in South Africa, that exact number is what you need to become a bestseller. So I became a bestseller within 1 month of this book. And a month before that, or 2 months before that, I was sitting and thinking to myself, like, will people actually buy this book? Because 12 publishing houses told me I'm not that good, I'm not this great guy at all. It's a lesson that needs to be learned. You have to have confidence in yourself. You have to have the validation has to come from within. Don't look at it from outside external factors. Sometimes people don't understand the vision you have. They don't understand the power that you have as well. So it's important that people go out there and believe in themselves and go after whatever they want. But away from that, touching on the humanitarian aspect of life, so I created a Build a School Foundation. And I'm still in the process of working through the first school that we're busy building. It will be in the Northwest Province. We've already allocated a certain space for it. The other two will, however, be refurbishments of current schools. So we will do 3 altogether. 2 of them will just be refurbishing schools. It's a lot easier, less admin. The Department of Basic Education, I had a conversation with them about 1.5 years ago when we started looking at it in more detail. And we looked at the red tape involved. We could never do 3. It's almost impossible to do 3 because of the capacity that you need. It's a lot of, red tape. There's a lot of issues. So we're going to do 1 where we're going to build a school completely from scratch. And then the other 2 are going to just be refurbished schools. So obviously those schools are really horribly set at the moment, broken windows. Some of the classrooms are not built completely. So we'll complete all of those things. And that's something I strongly believe in. Away from that, we also work with a lot of different organizations. I work with an organization called Islamic Relief in South Africa, where they assist a lot of communities. I work with Reach for a Dream in South Africa, where they look for kids who have terminal illnesses and they give them the one dream that they want. So whether you want to meet a Springbok, which is a South African rugby player, whether you want to ride in a helicopter, whether you want to meet Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously that's a very difficult request. But yeah, so we try to find solutions or try to make these dreams come true. And I think that's such an important thing. Another thing I like doing though, and this is another emphasis going back to relationships, is that be with someone who aligns with you completely. My current girlfriend at the moment, she's currently in Saudi Arabia right now as we speak. And, the conversations that we're having is like, I'm praying for us. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for your success. I'm praying for your growth, and it's so beautiful to have a high quality relationship. At the same time, we believe in gymming together. We've already decided like meal preps on a Sunday. But away from that, we also have a day where we allocated now that we're going to go every single day of the week one day of the week to be able to go and do humanitarian work. So be it going to an orphanage, whatever it might be. And it's so beautiful to be in a relationship that's beyond just aesthetics and beyond the concept of a normal relationship. You're actually building something beautiful together. So I think that plays such an important role, especially when people out there who are single are looking for a partner. You definitely want to gym together and you want to do some amazing work together as well.
Man, beautiful, beautiful. And I'll tell you, the reason why those publishing houses said no was just to teach you that lesson, that persistence is everything. And I tell everyone, we're no longer independent authors. Once you create a business, now it's just your publishing house, whether you let people know that your publishing house or not. But at least on this side in America, libraries don't buy from Amazon and they don't buy from independent authors unless you put some huge campaign together. Usually the senior citizens, the elders, have to run it for them to hear because they have all the time in the world. So I say that to say, always consider a business like that, because I know you're really big into business. He's been in the beauty business. You can see him doing laser on people. He's, we mentioned the clothing line. Let's talk about Afrobiz Media, because you're in the PR, the social media, the influencer space, which, I love that space, even though I'm probably more of a consultant now than anything, and managing that with a team. That just means you're old, and you know people and have relationships, and you're thinking differently, and you want to put on other people. But talk about your media company and what you can do for the people, and please let them know ranges, because I don't want someone contacting you with 50 bob, 50 Rand and saying, hey, what can you do for me? Make me famous. I'll get you once we blow up.
Yeah. So I mean, we run different media businesses, right? And that's the beautiful thing about South Africa, is that you can, well, we're starting to introduce this a lot more. And I feel like myself and many other individuals, I want to fight the idea of being in competition with each other. I don't believe in it. I don't think it's necessary. I think collaboration is way better than competition. So I have 3 different media businesses currently at the moment. They all do, different services, and they offer different services. The one is purely into outdoor advertising. We have an incredible opportunity in that. Away from that, there's another business that does PR, marketing, and branding. And then there's a third, platform or company that does consulting and does a little bit of an agency. You'd see it more of an agency kind of a concept. So we have those 3 different elements to it. And what I love is that I want to create an ecosystem, right? So even though they all run by, I'm a shareholder in all 3 of them, and a majority shareholder. So the minority shareholders are different in every single business that I'm in. It's all an ecosystem. So they all feed each other, which is a beautiful thing. And I think that's something that I really, pride myself in the fact that I want to create structures where ecosystems exist. We need to support each other. And I know Vusi Tembugwayo, who's someone I really respect in South Africa, he was saying something very profound the other day. He was saying, if let's say Kellen wants to create a car in Africa or in South Africa, you want to create the first South African car. We have this mindset as entrepreneurs, unfortunately, where it's like, oh, Kellen's creating that car, I want to do it before him, or let's sabotage it so that he never gets there, and that's the wrong mindset. We need to get rid of that mindset in South Africa. What we need to do is say, okay, cool, Kellen wants to create this car. Let me go and make tires so that I have the best tires available for Kellen so that he can use it on his car. Let me go and create the best lights for him so that he has the best lights for his car. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we're going to create a better mindset in South Africa. We need to support each other more. In America, I feel like you guys are more supportive of each other. In South Africa, we need to clap more for each other. We need to show more support for each other. There's a concept called giving someone their flowers before they die. I feel like in South Africa, we don't do that, and we need to definitely support each other more. So I'm a huge fan of that. I always speak very highly of other young people, not because of anything other than the fact that I fully want to see them succeed. But I also believe that the more we create this domino effect of positivity and support, the more that our South Africa and the world will actually grow. And I'm a very huge fan of the concept of positivity. Your mindset is everything in this world. If you have a beautiful mindset, your world will be beautiful. And I really believe that.
Yes. And the grass is always greener. And so I've been going to South Africa before the World Cup. So I think it was 2004, 2005 is when I went the first time, thinking I was going to do all the business, open up internet cafe, everything. And then I get there and I say, wait, you mean I need a South African partner? All my friends are from Malawi or Zim or bots. I don't know anybody from South Africa enough to trust for what I want to do with I thought I had a whole bunch of money at the time because I was young, and that's what you think, and with the teamwork. It's very easy, and I've heard you talk about this on interviews. It's very easy in America to start a business. That's the difference in America. We can get on our computers. We can open up a business today. In most states, unless you're in the New England area, it won't cost you even $100 to just open up a business. Sometimes it's $15 just to start. That's the difference in America. And when you talk about venture capital and angels, I'm part of a VC fund. I'm a very small member of Florida Funders. They don't want to give you $1 million. They want to give you 10 because they only focus on tech products. And that's the difference. I know VC in South Africa. I know VC all throughout Africa. Most of them are from Europe. Most of them are, maybe Asia, but mostly from Europe. They get it. Whereas Americans, you say Africa and they say, what? What's in Africa? Geography isn't our strong suit if you don't want it to be. So there's some great things about us being able to, we use geo arbitrage to say, let's go somewhere else and start that business because it's so many businesses like that here. So, America is great for certain things and a mindset shift. You will learn how to be an entrepreneur for sure. But when you get to South Africa and somebody says, Sabona, they really mean, they want to engage. And it doesn't matter where you are or who you are. Because again, I look homeless. Nobody knows what I do wherever I go. I love to dress up when need be. But on the streets, you wouldn't know who I was. You just, it doesn't make sense to flash out on the street, being where I'm from. Can you tell the people, are you going to start your own YouTube podcast where you'll be doing some weekly content just for the YouTube? Because YouTube has a different energy, or podcast. I know you have your TV show, but sometimes you might want to say something that's not meant for TV. It's just a different algorithm. 2, are you doing any paid, you mentioned it kind of the consulting, anything for the young people, especially where they can get the tips and tricks that you've learned? I think you writing a book at the age of 19 is a beautiful thing because you were speaking to your population at that time. You don't have to be losing your hair. And I'm not losing it all, y'all. So don't.
No, you're still good.
Yeah. You don't have to be losing your hair to write a book. Keep writing, keep producing. But, give them some things that they can take and really connect with your, I call it a portal, is what you're trying to create. Like I'm trying to create. I want people to come inside my portal, and this is included, and then be able to go to your portal and say, oh, let me learn some more from him. And hopefully we find a way to monetize that with crypto and different, platforms where when we're in our 80s, we're not worried about money. We're relaxing. I don't want to worry about money now, and I don't, but I don't worry about money because that's not the most important thing to me. I found a system that works for me, and I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to let the system do what it does. So give us your game.
Yeah, I love it. And I think also something that, just a general tip, subscription models work so well in Africa. Like if you have a subscription model in your business or in your app or whatever, it actually really does guarantee that safety net of income that's generated all the time. And it also teaches you about sustainability. Okay, but away from that, let's talk about YouTube. Let's talk about all of these things. So I do actually have a platform. It's called Generational Wealth Education. And I strongly believe in that word, generational wealth education. So I've started it up about a year and a half ago. And it's on TikTok as we speak. It has about 39,000 followers. So it's still small, still growing. We've partnered up with some of the financial sector, some of the financial institutions in South Africa. And the whole idea is just to be able to provide content that educates and empowers young people to make better decisions generally, but also financially. We have a huge problem in South Africa when it comes to people being in debt, people not managing their money very well. Majority of South Africans are in debt as we speak right now. So it's something that's really needed, and it's something that I'm working towards because the end goal for GWE is that we want it to be part of the syllabus in schools. So in your basic education sector in government, if we can have a program where young people can learn about financial literacy, that's the end goal. And we're currently working on that process as we speak. Away from that, we do have these more fun business podcasts that do go up on YouTube. I post it up here and there. It's also part of the generational wealth education segment. But away from that, Kellen, I'm going to share something with you as well that I'm planning to do in the next 5 years. I've never told anyone about this before, but I feel like the platform is such a beautiful platform. So, I mean, I might as well share it with you. I am going to enter the political space again in 5 years. So, I'm going to go out and create my own political party. This political party is going to have, I don't want to give away too much because I feel like that it's going to be an issue if I say share too much, but it's going to have the best of the best people in terms of competency, values, morals, influence, taking up shadow minister positions within my political party. So if, for example, someone is loved as an environmentalist in South Africa, that person will be my shadow minister when it comes to the Department of Environment and sustainability or whatever it might be. So I'm going to build a political party. It's going to be the most incredible political party out there. It's going to be multiracial, multicultural, support every single person that exists out there, be very youth-based, but at the same time, we're going to go out there and change South Africa. And I'm now entering into a space that's very dangerous, but a space that's beautiful if you can make the right impact. So I do believe that, this party in the next 5 years will get anything between 20 and 35% in the election, which means that we will become either the second biggest party in South Africa or actually be fighting with the current political party to be in majority in South Africa. So I really do believe in this. It's something I'm going to be working on over the next 5 years. And you'll definitely, hopefully see me either as a minister or a member of parliament. Either way, I'm definitely going to be playing a very important role in what happens in South Africa in the next few years. I just really care about the country. I'm very patriotic, and it's something that I strongly believe that we need young people with great ideas and innovation, and we need people that are competent and high quality individuals to lead the country. And if we bring those people in, anything is possible.
Well, I hope you guys do a better job than we do here in America, because if what we have here is the best that we have, and let me minus Kamala, if she gets the nomination, because she's a brilliant lawyer and has proven herself to do that. It could be
Michelle, though. It could actually be Michelle Obama. She's also on the ticket. Did you hear that? So
I don't like people teasing me with a good time. Just show me a good time, because Michelle on the ticket is, I can't even, if it goes there, we'll come back and have another conversation about that. Because I've worked with these politicians. I understand that, what we think as the layperson, it's different than when you're at that level. There's certain things that should be said, yes, for the people, but only Trump will say them because he has no coup. And that's my Irish twin. He's down the street and around the corner from us. It's a long down the street, 20 minutes, but he's down the street and around the corner. And I've read every book that he's written until he got into politics. I really understand the craziness of him, because I have some of it in me as well. Some of it is like, this is what you want to do, but your grandmother would tell you and your mother would tell you, no, you don't have to do that. Your wife would tell you, if you pick the right woman, you don't have to be that guy. But you said something with the political parties, and correct me again if I'm wrong. I believe you guys have over 50 of them in South Africa. We're fighting just to get another third party, like a strong third party that we just don't say independent, because not every independent even agrees with each other. What do you think? You guys have too many parties? Or should some parties merge? Like, I sometimes think in Cameroon, they pay people to create a political party or to run sometimes. I don't know if South Africa's like that, but sometimes it's like, are they just trying to split the vote? Give us the game on the political parties and why you think you need a new one instead of joining one.
So yes, there's people behind the scenes that are playing chess with politics and are deciding who takes what position, who's going to obviously lead this political party, what's their mandate. So all of that happens a lot. Even currently, if you're looking at one of the parties that is currently in government as we speak right now, that party was actually paid for by another political party to be able to take away votes from the biggest competitors. So these things exist. The general public knows nothing about these things, but obviously, if you are in the right circles, you do pick up all this information. But these things definitely happen in South Africa. We have way too many political parties. However, only about 6 to 8 of them are prominent. So the rest of them are just literally they don't even meet the threshold to be able to get a seat in parliament. So all of those are practically wasted votes. So yeah, I do think, obviously we need to have a new law kind of in place but it goes against our democracy, I guess. But if we can eliminate the parties that get lower than a certain number of votes in the election and not allow them to run in the next election, then that would actually then free up more votes to be, kind of allocated among the 8 bigger parties. And I think that would do a lot better. Away from that, I also think that there's a lot of foreign involvement when it comes to these political parties in South Africa. So there's a lot of interest from foreign, countries, and they all have their own mandates and their own agendas as to why they're pushing certain, narratives or wanting certain people, in certain positions. So we see that a lot in South Africa. That's why I really want to come in. I want to come in where in a place where there's such a gap, there's such a huge gap, and no one's seeing the gap right now. But I see the gap, and I feel like a lot of people are going to see the gap as well once our political party grows, and it's going to grow exponentially. Look, we will definitely get support in terms, because you need a huge support base to run an election and get about 25 to 40% of the vote. You definitely need a support base. So we're going to work on that. But I'm very, very excited. It's something I only decided to do very recently. I think I just looked at the political landscape and thought, you know what, there's definitely a gap for me to come in. And if there wasn't that gap, I would have, I don't think I would have actually, taken this decision. But I really want to make a difference.
And South Africa, when you were mentioning, and I don't need you to respond because I know politics out there is a lot different, but South Africa can have, former leaders who are convicted of crimes come back and run for office. And maybe that's where Trump got it from, and say, look, it doesn't matter if you have felonies. You can still run. He couldn't get a job at McDonald's with the amount of charges that he had, like here in America. But
it happens. Yeah. Just one thing about that. So there's a minister that's currently in South Africa. He's actually a really good friend of mine. Funny enough, he was actually in prison for many, many years. And right now, he's the best performing minister in the whole cabinet, And that's why I always believe that, yes, it's true that, it's a unique thing to think about, ex-prisoners coming in, or if you're convicted of crimes or whatever. But I think the one beautiful thing about South Africa is the concept of allowing people to rehabilitate themselves. And that's what the country is actually all about. And it's beautiful to see case studies like, his name is Gayton McKenzie, very similar to Donald Trump. Gayton McKenzie is an incredible minister. He's our Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture at the moment. So we were both in the same political party when I was younger. I was his youth president and he was the president. So I know him very, very well. We both ran in the elections in 2014. But the nice thing about Gayton is that, he's breaking all of the corruption gaps that were in place and destroying it completely. So, he's now creating a lot of transparency with the general public. People are getting, he's eliminating contracts that were corrupt, removing, misappropriation of funds, anything that involves that, completely destroying any agreements. So he's doing a great, great job so far. And he's very similar to Donald Trump because he works on a populist mindset where if you incorporate or include the general public in most of your decision making or what you're going through on a day-to-day basis, people feel inclined or engaged with you. So that's what Donald Trump has done a great job with. He makes people feel like it's their journey together. It's not Donald Trump running for president. It's the team of them. It's a community of people running for the presidency. So I feel like Gayton has done a great job with that as well. But we also have our former president, Jacob Zuma, right? And there's so much to speak about when it comes to all of these things. It's very controversial. A lot of people actually really like him, because of certain agendas that he pushed through or certain narratives that he had. His son went out and created his own political party, also a very good friend of mine. Unfortunately, they didn't allow him to enter into the elections because he didn't have enough signatures to be able to get into the election. So there's so much of drama and so much. It's like a soapy out here, you know. This person is involved with this person, and suddenly this changes. But I guess that's exactly what happens in politics. Now, if you're looking at America, for example, I mean, the fact that, look, I'm a little bit confused though, and I know this is controversial, but the Democratic Party, for them to overlook someone like a Michelle Obama or even a Kamala Harris over Joe Biden, I mean, if I was an objective person, I would look at those two options first before looking at Joe to run a second term. You know what I'm saying? So it's just things like that. I think everyone gets it wrong here and there, but it's a process. I'm glad that he stepped down, though. It's a great opportunity for the Democratic Party to do well.
Yes, we're glad too. And we talk about Michelle. Michelle has said it publicly and privately to many people. She had no interest. She didn't want it. And, maybe she has to be fully funded and get some of that 100 million and say, look, this is what I don't want to have to do. And this is what I will do. And this is what I don't want to have to say. Because even someone like Oprah has enough clout, or Mark Cuban has enough clout to run and put in. But Mark, too, has said, I don't want any part of that. It ages you. We've seen it throughout history. And when you talk about Mr. McKenzie, I know he was jailed for robbery, which for 17 years, it was a different South Africa. I don't know, him personally, if he says, yeah, I did it, or we were so hungry, I had to do it. And so it depends, too, on what crime. And again, I look at it differently in South Africa because I'm like, I remember movies like, what is it? TSO, TSI, Tosi, am I saying it?
Yes. Tootsie, yeah.
So, yeah. I remember seeing that movie and it was like, man, coming out of the slums, I'm like, I'm going into the slums, but it was all beautiful in the so-called slums. Wherever I go, from South Africa to Kenya, go to Kibera, that's where it's happening. I got to be there because the opportunity is there as well financially. But, I just look at it different, but I believe in forgiveness. I believe we all need second chances. I am not a perfect person. I never have been. I don't ever plan on being so perfect. I can go tell you guys, if you do this, you're going to hell. If you're going to hell, you're going to hell because you haven't talked to your God. If that's what, that has nothing to do with me. I don't have that power. But yeah, politics is interesting. I always tell people I would run if fully funded like Michelle, but I'd rather do it in an African country because I just feel fame and popularity is different in Africa, where there's certain things in Africa that you can do that are this is just life. This is not a big deal. Whereas when I tell people even the type of life that we're living now, they're like, wow, that must be nice. I say in Africa, everybody has a house help or, a maid, and it's family. It's not somebody that you look at as, this is just a domestic worker and do whatever I say. So, there's a respect to me that America is lacking, and you hear it even in our politicians cursing and how they talk to each other and how even the preachers now have reality shows and that's in Africa too. I've seen it.
Yeah, we have it here as well.
but you know what I haven't seen, and you're the perfect person to ask. Have you seen the Muslim or Jewish pastors like we see in the Christian realm with the Rolls Royces and putting it in everyone's faces? It's one thing to have it. It's another thing to tell everybody they should have it too.
Yeah. I don't see it. I haven't seen it with the Jewish community or with the Muslim community. I mean, I think I know a lot of your most popular rabbis in South Africa. None of them are boastful. I'm sure they do well in business in like their private capacities, if they have family businesses. Even the Muslim people, I mean, our most popular Muslim Maulana, which is like a priest, is Mufti Menk. He's a global star. He's known for his motivation and inspiration. Like his stuff is universal. It covers every race, every religion. The stuff he speaks about is really high quality. And he's the most simple guy. You know, I saw him, I think a few weeks ago, we were on the same plane together. You know, I was probably decked in more stuff than what he was. and he's on a whole nother level of success. So, you know, they really are humble, and it's beautiful. And I think it's something that we can learn from. Look, I think it's nice, and I don't want to take shots at any person or any individual, but you know, if you look at the general idea of God and faith, it's nice to invest in the actual structure and the actual establishment itself, and not on your personal enrichment. So if we are seeing, for example, priests or mulanas or rabbis around the world, it's nice for them to continually expand, pushing their own religion. So building more churches, building more synagogues, building more mosques, you know, employing more people within the community. But when it comes to buying a Rolls Royce over building a second building where more people can congregate and pray, it just doesn't make sense to me, you know, and those type of people are not necessarily well aligned to do what I believe in. I also have seen all these like scammers and, you know, forex traders, and then you also get the pastors that go and say that they can, you know, do these incredible miracles and stuff, that we know that they ended up paying the person like a few hours before the service started to be able to do these things. So like that stuff is just horrible, and it damages, you know, any credibility that those people can have. So hopefully that stops. But there's so many beautiful people in all the different religions, you know, amazing priests, amazing you know, mulanas, amazing rabbis that really want good and peace in the world, and we need to be able to allow and expand more of that in the world.
Amen. Amen. I want you guys, and the links will be in the description for the generational wealth, for the especially for the YouTube, because YouTube pays the most right now to anybody. YouTube, I'm saying that, and I tell you guys every year, we need to pay the African content creators a higher wage because things aren't still fair. Just got to get on my soapbox. I can prove it having clients in various places. I can look at analytics. It's not fair. Somebody getting 1 million views in an African country should not be looking at a $200 check or even $1,000 check for 1 million views. It's not right.
Even TikTok. I mean, with us, right? If you're looking at South Africa, we don't have the creator concept in South Africa. So you can't monetize your stuff unless someone gives you off lives or whatever. But the general people watching your videos and getting income from it, very similar to YouTube, does not exist in South Africa. You look at guys that are these UK guys that are living in Thailand, you know, and they have all these like beautiful, because everything's very like beautiful, scenic and nice, and they take all these amazing videos, and they're making a living. They probably make more than what some of our executives make here in Johannesburg. And they're sitting and they're making that money. But we have amazing content creators in South Africa where their content is the best in the world, but they don't even get that opportunity to be able to monetize it, you know, and it is unfair. It's very unfair. Not only YouTube, but it's TikTok. It's a lot of platforms that need to change that narrative when it comes to allowing African creators to succeed.
And the way the businesses can help in this, because YouTube will say that it's the advertisers and what they want to, you know, see their pictures on. But I have clients who have a crossover audience for an American client. We all know each other. We're all friends. And I say, if I can look at the analytics and see that, but how many consultants or business managers, whatever title you want to give me, have that access to analytics that can tell YouTube, no, this is, and then things can change magically. But I don't tell everyone we want their business. I want a certain type of client that's halfway as crazy as me, because we want to do life with our clients. I don't want to have the biggest clients just to have the biggest clients. I want to have clients that we do life together. Our kids then do business and life together. Those are the clients that I want. So having Coca-Cola would be nice, but we know in 5 years, Coca-Cola is going to tell you we've moved on to somebody else, or maybe within a year. I don't want to spend my time. I only have 76 more years on this precious earth as a natural human being. There may be some AI and spiritual stuff come about that I don't know about yet fully, but I want certain clients that we're pouring in. We're changing lives. They're changing our lives. We're able to hire more people. Voila. So TikTok, Facebook, all of you need to do it, because if not, Mr. Minty is going to just create his own platform and monetize it using the crypto that I was, mentioning earlier and the different currencies. And then you guys are going to be begging for him to come on and begging for other content creators. But the content creators, if everybody goes out there and creates their own website right now and starts making their own, we'll see changes. Right now, they feel they're the only thing in the game. And it's good for marketing, but not for everything, is my personal, humble opinion.
It's very true. And there's one other thing, and I really feel like we are going to do this. Once we're done with this call, we're going to have a chat. There's an amazing system that we're going to take to the Middle East together. I'm going to do it with you, Kellen. We're going to do this together, and we're going to make a lot of money from it. So I'm looking forward to it. I was actually looking for the perfect partner, and it so happens that, power of association, the world, networking, it just happens that, people just align. I just thought of it right now. It's actually a brilliant thing. And the guy was speaking to me about 2 weeks ago saying, like, listen, are you ready to take this to the Middle East? So we're going to chat about it and definitely push it out.
Well, give them where they can contact you, connect with you, whether it's LinkedIn, your website, or social. Give it to them. We'll have links in the description.
Yeah, sure. So I do have a website. My website's actually going to be updated. I didn't update it for about a year now, It's www.zareefminty.com. But I also have Instagram. I'm on Instagram at I am Zareef Minty. I do make use of other platforms like TikTok. We use the generational wealth education handle for that. But away from that, I'm also on LinkedIn. And those are some of the main platforms that I like using. I don't necessarily use Facebook that much. I know Africa still has a huge population of people that use Facebook, but it's starting to die down. So, we're making use more of like your Instagrams, your TikToks, your LinkedIns, YouTube as well. So yeah, people can definitely get hold of me on those different platforms.
You guys, I appreciate you for following the game. Most of you are listeners. Go over to the YouTube, give it some love, give it, some likes, some comments, but most importantly, please give it some shares. It will change somebody's life. Y'all be blessed.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stress the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand, or 10,000 Kenyan shillings, or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from Kellen Cash, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.
Hey, what's going on, fam? This is Jay Cameron inviting you to join us in Ethiopia next March 2025. And this is going to be an iconic trip that you don't want to miss, a trip of a lifetime. We're going to be visiting Addis Ababa, Gondor, Lalibela. You'll have a chance to taste the amazing Ethiopian food. You'll also have a chance to visit the Rastafarian community. You'll get the history, you'll get the fashion, you have an opportunity to shop. It's going to be a trip, an experience of a lifetime. So make sure you sign up to join us in Ethiopia, March 2025.